Imagine you have a 100-year-old, incredibly heavily guarded sourdough starter, like the kind people pass down for generations.
Oh, yeah, they're really good stuff.
Right. And the only way you can share it with someone is by physically handing them a living piece of dough in a mason jar.
Which is, I mean, incredibly limiting if you think about it.
Exactly. And that exact physical limitation that completely defined California's underground cannabis culture in the early 2000s. It was this super secretive, highly paranoid network operating on web forums like Overgrow and ICMag.
Highly paranoid is an understatement, honestly.
Yeah. So for today's deep dive, we are looking at how an underground grower named OG Raskal took that hoarded sourdough starter and, figured out how to put it into seed packets for you and the entire world. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, so to really understand how massive that shift was, you have to look at the extreme exclusivity of the clone market back then.
Right, because it wasn't just anyone sharing these plants.
Not at all. In 2004, there's this grower named Philip Cabral, and he bought a single OG Kush clone from a Hollywood Hills grower named Paulie Kush. He paid $5,000 for it.
Wait, I have to stop you there. $5,000 for a single clipping of a plant.
Just for a tiny clipping.
But why wouldn't someone, why not just buy the seeds for a fraction of that price?
Well, what's fascinating here is that a seed is essentially a genetic roll of the dice.
Oh, like you don't know what you're going to get.
Right. If you plant a seed, you don't know exactly what traits that specific plant will express. But a clone, a physical clipping from a mother plant, that is an exact biological replica.
So it's guaranteed.
Yes, you are mathematically guaranteed the exact same quality, yield, and potency. In that underground market, trust and certainty were the absolute ultimate currency. Raskal wasn't just growing plants, he was this trusted keeper of genetics.
The genetics that otherwise might have just been lost forever.
Exactly. And before Cabral went to prison, he passed that incredibly valuable cut to Raskal, who became its fierce protector. He popularized it as Fire OG.
Okay, so Raskal has this prized $5,000 Fire OG clone. But sharing physical clones is dangerous. It requires face-to-face meetups.
Oh, totally. Meeting in random parking lots and stuff.
Right, and it entirely bottlenecks the supply. You just can't scale an industry handing out little cuttings in Tupperware. Raskal needed a scientific workaround.
And he found one.
Right.
He found that workaround using another really famous clone from Florida called the White. Raskal used a breeding technique to reverse this clone.
Let's unpack the biology of that for a second, because this is where the whole industry really pivots. How do you actually reverse a plant?
Well, you introduce a specific stressor. Usually it's a chemical spray. And that forces a female plant to start producing pollen sacs.
Which is normally something only male plants do.
Precisely.
Okay. So because the pollen is coming from a female plant, it doesn't contain any male chromosomes at all.
You nailed it. So when you use that specific pollen to fertilize another plant, there is zero male DNA in the mix. Yeah, so the resulting seeds are guaranteed to be female. It's what the industry calls feminized seeds. So Raskal took that, reversed all female pollen from the White, and crossed it with that heavily guarded $5,000 Fire OG clone.
Meaning he essentially hacked the biology to mass produce the unmass producible.
He really did.
And the result was White Fire, which by 2012, growers were widely calling Wi-Fi. He scaled the secret.
He did, but doing that completely dragged him out of the shadows. I mean, by 2012, the Cabral brothers essentially had to drag a very reluctant Raskal to the High Times Cannabis Cup just to sell his seeds publicly.
Wait, he didn't even want to go?
No, he was a forum guy, super private, but they convinced him to run a booth, and he walked away with roughly $50,000 in sales. The demand just absolutely skyrocketed after that.
That is insane.
Yeah, and eventually his later Alien-era seed packs, they were trading on the secondary market for over $1,000 a pack.
But hold on a second. If we go back to our sourdough analogy, by moving from clones back to seeds, didn't he just reintroduce that genetic variation we talked about earlier? Like, seeds are a roll of the dice again.
Spot on, and that is exactly why this story isn't just about one guy sitting in a grow room. Raskal wrote the genetic code, sure, but the community had to actually compile it.
Right, they had to do the work.
Exactly. A collective known as the Jungle Boys took those White Fire seeds and did what is called a phenotype hunt.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, they grew out like 300 to 400 of those seeds, meticulously hunting for the absolute best physical expression of those genetics.
Meaning A phenotype is basically the physical trait.
Hmm?
Like if you had 300 kids and you're looking for the one specific child who got the exact perfect combination of their parents' best features.
Yeah, it is a weird way to put it, but yes, that's exactly it. And they found that perfect combination in what became the legendary Whitefire number 43.
Which is incredible.
It really is. And if you're wondering why this shift matters for you today, it's because it proves that innovation rarely ever scales in a vacuum. Raskal built the bridge from that secretive, hoarded clone era to the modern, open seed era, but he needed the crowd to cross it and perfect it.
Right, he open-sourced the genetics,
Yeah.
and the community acted as the developers. He took that closely guarded sourdough starter and finally figured out a way to just give everyone the recipe.
Yeah, perfectly said.
Which leaves you with a thought to chew on today. If an entire industry was revolutionized by one person finding a way to openly distribute a heavily guarded biological secret, what other closed-off, gate-kept industries today are just waiting for their own open-source revolution?